Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and today delighted to bring you Tony Rovira. He's the Managing Director of Azure Minerals, ASX code AZS. Hey, Tony, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Kerry. It's a pleasure to be with you again.
Can't believe that I haven't spoken to you since last year. It's already February. Here we are in 2021. Lots to talk about today. Congratulations on all the drilling, the assay results. Lots coming up with you. Let's start with your nickel deposit, Andover, and the recent discovery, VC23. Let's just cover that for our listeners today, and then we'll move on to some more information.
Certainly, with the Andover project, we've always known that there's good potential at the what we now call the VC7 target, where we've had most of our success up to date. But more recently, we've identified that there was another target about 3 kilometres away that's called VC23, which is an area where historically there was one drill hole being put into it by Mark Creasy, and it hit a little bit of nickel. And so we went in there and we've done some geophysics, and we've now drilled 7 holes into that VC23 target. And all 7 of those holes have hit nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation very close to surface. All 7 of those have intersected mineralisation less than 100 metres below surface. So it's very exciting. We've got an 8th hole that's underway at the moment, and then we'll be doing a lot more geophysics to try and look for and define the extensions to the east and to the north. So potentially VC23 is looking very exciting.
Is that unusual, Tony, to hit mineralisation in every single hole?
It's certainly unusual as in my experience, and I've got a lot of experience looking and exploring for nickel. So yes, the fact that we've drilled so many holes, not just at VC23, but also at VC7, where we've just about every hole that we've drilled has hit nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation. In all of those cases, we've been targeting the electromagnetic conductors. And certainly in some areas elsewhere in Australia where you have electromagnetic conductors, you might have other reasons for them to have that electrical conductivity. But where we are at Andover, every time we've drilled them, we've hit nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation. So it's an amazing success rate so far, and long may it continue.
Now, I just want to go back a little bit, if we could. Mark Creasy, a very well-known figure in the mining industry. If we can just explain a little bit about how you came across these projects, because they were originally owned by Mark Creasy, weren't they?
That's right, yes. So up until probably 12 months ago, Azure was focused very much into Mexico, and obviously there's been a lot of issues with COVID-19 and the risks of travelling and the fact that in Mexico and elsewhere in North America, you know, that the controls on the COVID were not optimal. So we decided to withdraw, or at least put all our projects in Mexico on care and maintenance for a while, and until we could see what was the outcome in that country was likely to be. But we couldn't sit back and do nothing. So when we came back basically into Australia, I said to myself, where can we get some Australian, or particularly West Australian projects? And well, one of the great project owners in WA is Mark Creasy. And Mark and I go back a long way together, back into more than 20 years, when I was with Jubilee Mines and had made the Cosmos nickel discovery, and Mark had made several big gold discoveries as well. And so we had a lot of getting together and discussing about our successes in those days. And Mark's also been a shareholder of Azure Minerals since 2003 in their original IPO. So he's been well aware of what we've been doing. So when I approached him in the middle of last year, I asked him whether he had any projects that he would consider vending into Azure Minerals, and he offered us this the nickel project, the Andover nickel project, and also 3 gold projects. And so he obviously felt that my team and Azure would be able to do justice, particularly to the Andover nickel project, because it's one that numerous people have tried to offer to acquire from him, and he's rejected all of those offers up until now, and then he agreed to vend it into Azure. And I guess that's a reflection on the fact that we've got a long-term and very strong relationship, and also the fact that I would think that he respects our ability to carry out exploration and to do it successfully.
Yeah, because he's a very successful miner, Mr. Creasy, and I'm sure he he clearly has respect for what you're doing. And goodness me, it sounds like it's coming up roses for you guys. So VC7 has 2 rigs on it at the moment. All holes have hit nickel. And is that one that's fairly close to surface?
No, the VC7 is deeper down. And but it's long and it looks to be very extensive. So that it once again is a geophysical anomaly. We've drilled the 8 holes into it on the eastern end, and all of them have hit mineralisation. But the conductor is over 1,000 metres long, and if it was to be have similar nickel and copper mineralisation throughout that entire length of it, then it potentially could be quite a very significant nickel deposit in the history of Australian discoveries.
Could you compare it to anything in Australia at the moment?
Well, that's a big ask, and you know, it is early days, and we only have just over a handful of holes that we've drilled into to date. But once again, if the entire anomaly was to be uniformly mineralised, then potentially it could be similar in size to the Nova Bollinger nickel and copper deposit, and which is now a major mine. But I do stress that it's early days. But then I repeat, so far every hole that we've drilled into it has hit nickel. So, you know, things are looking good so far. Time will tell, and that will come with more drilling.
Well, you did a capital raise. I think it was in November last year. You raised 37 million. So you're well funded to continue with the drilling. There's no issues there, are there? And nothing, no issues going forward. So you're going to continue drilling and continue pushing the envelope to see what is there.
That's exactly right. As you said, we were successful in raising $37 million. So we're well funded for at least the next couple of years. The intention is that with the 2 rigs that we've got on VC7 at the moment, we are looking to do a resource definition program, so that potentially by the end of this year, we may have drilled out that zone of mineralisation. We'll be able to release a mineral resource to the market. But in addition to that, we are confident enough of what we're finding there is that we are now into the project development study stage. So we're now commencing studies on metallurgy, mining, geotechnical, environmental, heritage, and the things like that. And those studies will be carried out alongside and simultaneously with the resource drill out program, so that we can accelerate our ability to complete a scoping study as soon as possible.
Anything that people need to know about this, because I'm actually quite excited about something we haven't spoken about before, Mr. Rovira, which is about gold. But anything you'd like to just mention about the nickel projects before we leave them? Because I know you're excited about the nickel, but I'm the gold lady. So I don't think the market has actually factored in that you've got some other projects and they're to do with gold. So before we leave the nickel, anything that you'd like to just mention about
there is just one more thing, is that as I mentioned earlier, where we were drilling these electromagnetic conductors, we've been hitting nickel and copper sulfides. We stepped out recently in the last month or so, and we put some holes into VC23, which was another conductor. It has had, as I said, 7 out of 7 holes have hit nickel and copper sulfide mineralisation. We have another 8 to 10 of these EM conductors throughout the project area, which have never been drilled. So the potential there for finding more zones of nickel and copper mineralisation associated with these other conductors is very strong. And so that's a regional exploration drilling program that we'll be carrying out and continuing to undertake throughout the rest of this year. So not only will we be doing resource definition drilling and project development studies, but we will also be doing regional exploration drilling on these other nickel targets. And if they should be coming up with nickel and copper sulfides too, then we're in a very strong place.
Actually, before we move on to the gold, you know, we are in interesting times. Biden's in the White House. There are going to be winners and losers in this new economy, because I do call it the new economy. With nickel and copper and I guess the green technology and all that sort of stuff, what are your thoughts? I mean, nickel and copper are going to be in high demand. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And you see that a lot of the larger companies, the companies that are actually actively mining at the moment in all sorts of different commodities, are leaning very strongly into becoming involved, if they're not already, with nickel and copper. So you can see, your BHP and Rio Tintos are certainly leaning that way. And we have the major iron ore mining companies like Fortescue and Gina Reinhardt's companies are getting into these new metal spaces as well. Plus you've got IGO and the other Nickel West. So there's a whole bunch of different companies which are either in the space already of these new metals or are actively trying to get into there. So nickel and copper are going to be very important for that new economy, as you mentioned, going forward. And we are Azure's in a really good place at the moment, because that Andover project delivers both of those metals at the one time in the one project.
And is there a supply demand issue going forward, do you think? Yeah.
From what the experts or the people that are really into this space are saying, is that the amount of nickel and copper that is going to be required in the years to come for electric vehicles and battery storage facilities and the like is going to be much more than what we've already got at the moment. So there will be, if not necessarily a shortage, there will be an accelerated demand for these metals, and that will bring new projects on stream like ours, and hopefully the prices will remain high or go higher too.
So good timing for Azure Minerals and the right commodities.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I wanted to go on to two other projects that are in your stable that I actually don't think the market understands that you have, and it's two gold projects that you've got. If we could just cover those before we finish up. First up is Turner River, which I believe is close to Hemi. Now, for those people that don't know what Hemi is, it's the De Grey mining project up in the Pilbara. And these were also Mark Creasy's project that he has vended into Azure. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the Turner River project is about 450 square kilometres of land that's located just to the south of Port Hedland and just to the north of De Grey Mining's Malina Gold Project, which contains their new Hemi gold discovery. Turner River has been held by the Creasy Group for nearly 20 years, but it's a property that's never been, or it's some tenements that have never been granted by the Mines Department, which are looked to be imminent to be granted. The beauty of the Turner River project is that it contains a similar sort of geology and structures and characteristics that the De Grey mining property has got around the Hemi project, and yet the Turner River project has never been drilled. Now, at the moment, it's a 70-30 joint venture, so Azure owns 70% and the Creasy Group owns 30%, and we'll be the managers and operators of the project. As soon as that project is granted by the Mines Department, we'll be on the ground carrying out exploration and drilling activities to determine the gold potential there. But with all the right geologies and with all the right and in the right location, and has never really been explored, yeah, this thing looks quite promising and very exciting project. And our geologists we've got in our company are really excited to try and set foot on the ground and get started.
And I don't think the market has even factored in that you've got that. Because when you say it's imminent, are we talking weeks or are we talking months?
Oh, probably in the next few months.
Next few months. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you'll be all set to get on there.
Absolutely, yep. We've been building the team up over the last few months. So we have brought on board some new nickel specialists and also some gold specialists. So we'll be able to undertake exploration on both the Andover nickel project, but also Turner River gold project simultaneously.
Okay, and there are two gold projects. There's a Barton gold project.
Barton, that's right. Barton's a really interesting one. It's 200 square kilometres of land that's located south of Leonora in the eastern goldfields of WA, and it's located in between three prospects or projects that have been very much in the news and some really exciting developments. First, you've got the ground that's called around Ulysses, which the Ulysses Gold Project, which is owned by Genesis Minerals, and Genesis have been doing a lot of work there, and both not exploration and in acquisitions. So they've got somewhere at the order of 1.5 million ounces of gold in their resources. And then That's immediately to the west and adjoins our Barton project. Immediately to the east is Saturn Metals, which have got their nearly 1 million ounce gold deposit at Apollo Hill. And immediately to the south of our Barton project, you've got the Kukini Gold District, where several companies have been doing exploration and been hitting a lot of high-grade gold. So we've got 200 square kilometres that's sitting right in the middle. It's covered with sand. It's never been drilled, and yet it's surrounded by gold projects, which would probably total 3 to 4 million ounces of gold resources. So a very exciting area, never been tested, just waiting for the drill rig.
Was that another one in the back pocket of Mr. Creasy, was it?
No, this is one that we identified and acquired ourselves. So we own 100% of it. At the moment, it's still an application. So we're waiting for the exploration license to be granted. That should be granted towards the middle of this year. And as soon as it is, we'll be on the ground and be doing some drilling. So
probably sounds to me like it will be Turner River first and then Barton.
I would expect so. Yes, that's our expectation as to the granting of those two tenements.
You've got a busy year ahead of you, Mr. Rovira, and it's very, very exciting times. And I think is this the first time that you've actually talked about the gold side? Because it's always been about nickel and copper.
Yeah. Yes.
You heard it here first on Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. Exciting times in gold, nickel, and copper for Azure Minerals, ASX code AZS. Tony Rovira, thank you so much for talking to Small Caps today.
Thank you, Kerry. It's an absolute pleasure.